What's up, guys? My name is Redwing, and welcome to our next Star Wars What If scenario. At the Battle of Geonosis and Attack of the Clones, Padme falls out of a Republic transport while Obi-Wan and Anakin are en route to confront Count Dooku. But what if Padme didn't fall out of that transport? Without further ado, let's get into it. Our story begins in the Republic transport as Obi-Wan and Anakin prepare to face Count Dooku. Because Padme didn't fall out of the transport in this timeline, Obi-Wan and Anakin would not have the argument about personal feelings that they had in the original timeline, and instead of Anakin being all riled up, he's actually much more calm and level-headed. This in turn causes him to not rush into battle against Dooku, and Obi-Wan and Anakin start off the fight by taking on Dooku together. Anakin is already a skilled fighter by this point, but Dooku senses that he still has much to learn in the ways of the Force. So he uses this to knock Anakin out of the fight early on using his Force Lightning, and Obi-Wan continues to fight against Dooku. This goes similarly to how it does in the original timeline, and Obi-Wan is injured by the Count. Just like the original timeline, Dooku prepares to kill Obi-Wan, but Anakin quickly regains consciousness and interferes before Dooku can finish the strike. Obi-Wan throws Anakin another lightsaber, and this goes similarly to how it does in the original timeline. However, Dooku merely grazes Anakin's arm instead of chopping it off. Yoda then arrives and duels with Dooku just like in the original timeline, and Dooku once again attempts to escape. Because Padme didn't fall out of the transport, she is able to arrive much earlier with the clones, and they are able to successfully destroy Dooku's vessel, preventing his escape and resulting in his immediate arrest at the hands of Grandmaster Yoda. The Jedi try to take Dooku to a Jedi temple prison, but at the insistence of Chancellor Palpatine, Dooku is taken to a Republic prison where he will await to stand trial for his crimes against the galaxy. The Clone Wars still rages on, but the Separatists are at a severe disadvantage because of Dooku's arrest. Palpatine is also enraged at the failure of his apprentice, and worries about his plans, as Dooku very well could say something to the Republic authorities or worse, the Jedi. However, he suddenly feels a disturbance in the Force for one very specific reason. He suddenly had thoughts of his previous apprentice Maul, so he decided to feel for him in the Force. Then it hit him. Darth Maul had survived. Palpatine would then immediately begin concocting a plan to have Dooku killed in prison before his trial, because he knew that if Dooku were to have a trial, his secret Sith identity could be exposed. Anakin would still be married to Padme, in secret of course, but because of his level-headedness during the Battle of Geonosis, he is almost immediately promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight after retrieving a new Kyber crystal and constructing his famous lightsaber. Like the original timeline, he begins winning many battles on behalf of the Republic, and he is hailed as the hero with no fear. A few months into the Clone Wars, Ahsoka is assigned to Anakin as his Padawan, much like the original timeline, and they win many battles together as she continues to learn from Anakin. It is around this time that Palpatine puts his sinister plan into motion. For a few months now, Palpatine has been using the Force to try and get a location on Maul, and he had finally had success as he contacted Masameda and orders him to prepare his ship for immediate takeoff to Lotho Minor. There, Palpatine eventually finds Maul in a state of insanity and uses the Force to choke him to the point of unconsciousness and bring him to his ship. Then they travel to Coruscant, where Palpatine takes Maul back to the industrial sector. Then he uses the Force to restore his mind and memories, much like Mother Talzin does in the original timeline. And Maul is fitted with brand new cybernetic legs. Maul immediately kneels before his master, and Sidious tells Maul that he will gain his revenge on Kenobi. But first, in order to regain his place at Sidious's side, he must kill Count Dooku in a Republic prison before his trial is supposed to take place the very next day. For extra insurance, Maul is to leave no survivors. Maul, in his desire for revenge against Kenobi and also fearing death at the hands of his master if he didn't comply, bows to Palpatine. Sidious, in turn, returns Maul's now single-bladed lightsaber. and Maul takes a small speeder that Palpatine lent him for transportation. As Maul leaves, a sinister smile crosses Sidious's face. When Maul reaches the Republic prison, he uses the Force to choke the guards to death and destroy the security cameras before entering. However, a clone from the Coruscant Guard discovers him, and Maul instantly ignites his blood-red lightsaber and stabs the clone directly in the heart, killing him instantly. More clones arrive, and we get a hallway scene where Maul absolutely slaughters the clones. One of them even attempts to contact Commander Fox for reinforcements, but he is sadly cut down before he can even send the transmission out. Maul continues to slaughter the troops, using his lightsaber as well as the dark side of the Force, and he continues to get closer to his target. Meanwhile, Yoda senses a disturbance in the Force, and the rest of the Jedi sense it as well. They instantly figure out that the Republic prison is under attack, and that the Separatists were possibly trying to help Dooku escape. They immediately send Obi-Wan to investigate, and he obliges, leaving as quickly as he could. When he gets to the Republic prison, he is shocked to see dead bodies all over the prison, all of which were inflicted with either lightsaber marks or blunt force trauma, or both. Obi-Wan comments that not even General Grievous or Asajj Ventress could have done this, and he immediately gets more and more weary as he enters the prison. Dooku, from inside his prison cell, senses the commotion outside, and he knows that Sidious is finally deciding to end his life. He is unable to break free from his cell, as he is imprisoned much like how he had imprisoned Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, so Dooku is left to await his fate. Maul continues to get closer and closer to Dooku, and after a while locates Dooku's cell. Dooku is terrified to see Maul, like he had seen a ghost. He knew that Maul had been cut down by Obi-Wan years ago on Naboo. How had he survived? Dooku asked. Maul had no patience for pleasantries, as he then ignited his lightsaber through Dooku's chest, killing him as Sidious had commanded. Maul is left basking over his victory. However, a blue lightsaber then ignited behind him. It was Obi-Wan, who was instantly shocked upon seeing Maul. Much like in the original timeline later on in the Clone Wars, Maul tells Obi-Wan,
"You cannot imagine the depths I would go to stay alive, fueled by my singular hatred for you."
Much like the original timeline, Obi-Wan says that he had defeated Maul before and that he will defeat him again. Maul tells him to not be certain of this, and a fierce battle begins. The combatants eventually hit a stalemate in the duel, before Kenobi's 212th came to aid him. Maul instantly kicked Kenobi off of him, and he ultimately made his escape, making his way back to Sidious, who congratulated Maul on his victory and gave him back his position as Sidious's apprentice. He then tells Darth Maul to go to the Raxus system and take over the Separatist government before giving him a new ship as a reward for killing Dooku. Maul obliges and leaves for Raxus. Sidious then immediately contacts General Grievous, telling him that Darth Maul was to take over as the head of the Separatists. When Maul reaches Raxus, he is met with no resistance from the Separatist forces, and he takes over the Separatist movement swiftly. The Clone Wars continue on mostly as dictated in the original timeline, except that Maul is now replacing Dooku as the head of the Separatists. When Ventress finds out that Maul is taking over, she knows that he is responsible for the death of her master Dooku, and she attempts to take Maul's life. However, Ventress is ultimately defeated by Maul and is killed and betrayed by General Grievous as he stabs her in the back with one of his 4 lightsabers, completely taking Ventress by surprise as she died. Savage Opress would never be recruited, as Ventress was now no longer alive to recruit him. However, much like the original timeline, Maul recruits the Death Watch in the shadows as well as the other criminal syndicates, like the Pikes and Crimson Dawn. He takes over Mandalore much like the original timeline, and he kills Pre Vizsla, taking the Darksaber for himself. Bo-Katan and her followers rebel against Maul, but, much like the original timeline, it proves to be obsolete. Maul then goes back to the Separatist government, and recruits the Mandalorians, making it a matter where the Republic could mount a rescue mission for Duchess Satine. However, with the Mandalorians now on the side of the Separatists, the Republic begins to be overwhelmed, so Obi-Wan is sent to retrieve Satine alone. However, the mission fails, and much like the original timeline, Maul kills her with the Darksaber in front of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is then rescued by Bo-Katan, and he goes back to the Republic to report what had happened. Anakin continues to be undefeated, and Ahsoka becomes very similar to how she was in the original timeline. When Ahsoka is accused of the temple bombings, she ultimately decides to stay in the Order, inspired as always by Anakin's faith in her, and hoping to help make the Jedi into something better. Ahsoka is granted Jedi Knighthood as a result, and in turn, Anakin is promoted to Jedi Master for having completed her training. Later on, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka are deployed to help with the Outer Rim sieges. Ahsoka is given her own clone legion at this point, the 222nd, and the 3 Jedi win the Outer Rim sieges successfully. This is when Bo-Katan comes to them to propose a joint operation to free Mandalore, and Obi-Wan, being staunchly loyal to the Republic, says that the Jedi Council will decide on this. However, alarms blare all over the cruiser, and Obi-Wan informs Anakin and Ahsoka that Palpatine had been kidnapped, and that they were being rerouted to Coruscant to rescue him. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan once again argue politics, and it is decided that Ahsoka will go to Mandalore to apprehend Prime Minister Almec with the 222nd and half of the 501st, including Rex, who Ahsoka missed serving with. When Anakin and Obi-Wan reach the Invisible Hand, it goes similarly to how it goes in the original timeline. However, Maul had had visions about Anakin taking his place as Sidious's new apprentice, and plans to kill Anakin instead of merely toying with him like his master commanded. Killing Satine was no longer enough for Maul. He wanted Kenobi to suffer. He wanted Obi-Wan to lose everything he held dear before he ultimately killed him. However, the fight between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Maul is ferocious. Obi-Wan is knocked out of the fight early, and Anakin uses his emotions to win the fight, disarming Maul of his weapon and points both his and Maul's lightsaber to Maul's throat. Palpatine commands Anakin to kill him, but Anakin, inspired by his new rank and knowing that killing Maul would be against the Jedi way, ultimately refuses to kill him. Obi-Wan gets up, and the Jedi release Palpatine and arrest Maul. However, Palpatine, enraged that Anakin would not kill Maul, unleashed a barrage of Force lightning at both the Jedi and Maul. This catches the Jedi completely off guard, and an epic battle begins. Maul is knocked out of the fight due to the Force lightning, and so he is unconscious for the moment. Palpatine ignites 2 red lightsabers as he gets ready for the fight of his life. Anakin is too shocked to move as Obi-Wan advances. His use of Surisu ultimately allows Obi-Wan to hold his own against Sidious. Anakin in this moment realizes that Palpatine had manipulated him for all of these years, and that he had been the one who ordered those attempts on Padme's life. Anakin advances, enraged at the betrayal of Palpatine. However, Palpatine knocks him out, and Obi-Wan continues to go on. Eventually, Anakin wakes up, and he is forced to watch as Palpatine ultimately kills his master. Anakin was now even more enraged as he charged at Sidious, and the 2 Force users engage in a battle for the ages. It is a fierce duel where both combatants are evenly matched. After a while, though, Anakin disarms Palpatine of one of his weapons, and Palpatine attempts to use Force lightning on the young Jedi Master. Anakin, seeing the opening, cuts off Palpatine's hand before he can conjure the lightning. Anakin would then ultimately kill Palpatine as Maul woke up. Anakin would then take Maul prisoner, and they would once again land on Coruscant in half a ship. Anakin, before getting off of the ship with Maul, contacts the Jedi Council, revealing that Palpatine was the Sith Lord they had been looking for, and that Anakin had killed him. The Council was shocked, but ultimately decide to tell the Senate the truth about the matter, and the Senate elects Mon Mothma to serve as the interim Chancellor. Maul is ultimately sentenced to death for his crimes against the galaxy, and is shortly thereafter executed by Rex and the 501st. Ahsoka would ultimately free Mandalore from the grip of Prime Minister Almec after a short campaign, and Bo-Katan would have her chance to rule her people. The Clone Wars would ultimately end when General Grievous was destroyed at the hands of Mace Windu. The Separatist leaders were subsequently arrested and forced to surrender. Anakin, due to his role in destroying the Sith, would ultimately be offered Obi-Wan's position on the Jedi High Council as a Jedi Master. However, at the end of the war, Padme would give a safe birth to Luke and Leia, and Anakin would ultimately choose to leave the Jedi Order to be with his family and raise the children, having finally brought balance to the Force. Well, guys, that's our story today. I kind of like where I took this one. I actually really had fun writing this, even though it seems like it was a shorter video, but I'm not sure. We'll find out when it comes out. Feel free to let me know any other what-if ideas in the comments below, as always. And let me know if you want to hear my original content as well, because I really want to do that. But anyway, thanks for watching. May the Force be with you. And I'll see y'all later.